There we go. Unfortunately, we're going to be restarting the stream there. And we've been having a little bit of technical difficulties, so again, apologies to everybody. We're trying our best to get this sorted. So yeah, my apologies there, guys. Sorry, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties, but fear not, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is all going to be recorded without the difficulties, so again, please bear with us. Let's see how we're doing here. Yeah, so showing us the Megan immediately swings, and yeah, Matt is just out here trying to survive. But the question is he going to be able to? Because yeah, shows the CB, flips. Goes, yeah, I'm going to need that Shadow Army token, buddy. Because yeah, I guess Anuna's head now goes, okay, if he's got Altsari units, maybe he's got some extra resources sitting on those cards, so maybe it's best to clear things out before it rolls out of control. Goes no guard, first check, that's a front. We know how scary fronts can be. Second check. That's a critical trigger. Power to the other rear guard, and third check. Oi, oi, oi. That's going to be a blue OT. So front, crit, blue OT. That's what looks like a front back to hand. Gets to draw a card off of it. Crit to the Vanguard, 100 million to the rear guard here. And yeah, judging by what we seem to be hearing out of band here, it might just be two can play that game, baby. That's a defensive as well. Third check. That's a PG. But again, huge on the blue OT here. Yeah. Just costs 15k shield. Damn, damn, damn. Wow, wow, wow. A little bit of a diabolical turn of events, if you will. Thank you guys again. I would like to apologize to everybody for the technical difficulties. Unintended side effects, unfortunately. It's sometimes the locations aren't ideal in terms of internet. Because because we're not dropping any frames. It's just a connect. It's literally a matter of a function of being on Wi-Fi. So again, apologies. And I know people said their time for this, so I do apologize. We'll try and get this fixed, but the VODs will be up without any of the lag. It's recorded locally, so that shouldn't be an issue if this does become a problem throughout the day. But thank you everybody for coming back as we go into Matt's counterattack. And we'll see what he's really made of here. Yeah, Matt's gonna go straight into that battle phase. Yeah, first swing 30k. And let's see what Zona's answer is. Because the thing is, Zona's on 4, so he can't really be taking things willy-nilly. He's gonna have to really start thinking about how he's gonna play this turn out. Yep, shows the front. Yeah, then followed up a 45k swing. Vanguard will be 41k as well. We can be hearing that here. Again, reading his numbers out too, and these are looking increasingly scary. Onus has no guard, and the faithful shall be rewarded. Checks a critical trigger, goes to 23k base, and honestly, that might just be his ticket out of here. Again, both players, I know I'm going to say currently undefeated, but I know it is only round 2. So we'll see how that continues. But at the moment, they're doing absolutely phenomenally here. Again, it's really interesting seeing a lot of kind of fresh life breathed into these decks that have kind of generally been considered to be, let's call it, left by the wayside. No, these aren't Heartlaroot, these aren't Peak Bavsagra, but these are decks that sort of like keep refusing to die, and really, really cool seeing them constantly keep popping up and putting in the work.
Winners 15 minutes.
There you go, guys. Sorry about that. You're gonna be hearing a little bit of the judges there, so I do apologize. And hopefully, let me know if this is too loud or too quiet. We're trying to speak quieter, but be closer to the mic, so I'm not quite sure how you guys are hearing this. So any feedback on that front would be greatly appreciated. First trigger. Oh, that's a front trigger. Again, I think the theme of this season, that's going to be double front. That's absolutely diabolical. Third check. Nothing at all, but double front is diabolical, and that's going to be game with Matt taking the game and us going into the end of round 2. Absolutely phenomenal game with Matt clutching it out, and really, really strong showing. Incredible showing out of Kyrie here. And guys, stay tuned. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. I'm going to be probably trying to get the next round of range, and then we'll be back. Because I know there's quite a bit to go. So we'll be gone for 2-3 minutes. I'll be right back. And in about 10 to 15 minutes, we're going to be coming back with round 3. So don't go anywhere. Or get a coffee, go to the bathroom, do what you got to do. We'll try and get a bit of the network issues sorted, but we'll do our best. So guys, stay safe, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. We'll see you then. Take care, guys. Alright guys, and welcome back to BCS Italy. Round 3 is just about to start. And we've got kind of one of the interesting matchups for this format that I've been really looking forward to doing, and thankfully there's just a critical mass of half loaders in the room to where we just get to do it. So that'd be pretty cool. So I'm gonna stay a little silent until everything comes online. Oh. There we go, we're going to transition that over. It's going to be one of the fairly fun. So let's quickly transition that over. And we're going to get to see exactly what's happening. Yeah, just the players just discussing, having a little friendly chat, you know. I think for one, this is one of the more interesting matchups, but we'll see how this goes.
Okay, players, so at the end of this round, we will be starting our side events.
There you go,
If
yeah,
you
it's
have dropped, and
so
only
there you go,
if
just
have
announcing for
dropped,
the side events going on
you
here.
can register here in the judge table for the side event polls with the side event promos. Now, if everyone is ready, and they should be, we're gonna start the round.
There we go. And we're going to stand up the Vanguard in
Okay,
just a
so
second.
this is round 3. You have 30 minutes. Stand up.
There you go. Let's move that around. Let's try and hold the microphone a little bit closer here and see if we can just about make this work. So, of course, we're going to be looking at arguably the best deck in the format right now with Heartluru versus a deck that seems to be tailor-made to beating it with Katana World from Buddy Fight. Oh, there you go. Peter's just announcing that he is raising the flag and becoming a Buddy Fighter. Maybe don't know. When you play a Buddy Fight deck, you actually don't have access to energy at all. That's because you can only have one right deck crest, and the Buddy Fight crest takes that place for you. So what the starters say is at the start of the game, you must say raise the flag, and then you become a Buddy Fighter, and you put a Buddy monster into the order zone, which is what you see up there on Pete's side. And then when you ride your grade 1, you're going to generate gauge, and every turn you can gauge or charge and draw, or you put a card from your hand as gauge and then cycle it. So you just draw one card. Mineralogy is going to be showing us the standard Heartluru TM. Rides grade 1, searches toys, plays the toys, top 5, presumably finds 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 1 and 2, there we go. That's going to be the... I keep thinking it's a dragon, but I think it's a horse, isn't it? The 10k Intercept. And a Blavilos. There you go, horse to hand. Blavilos into the soul. Very, very strong. Meanwhile, Pete, there you go, gets discard, rides his grade 1. And you're right, he gets the Buddy Crest. Yep, gauge top 2. So, of course, on the first turn, you don't get to charge and draw, but in every subsequent turn, he will be able to. There you go, you can see one of the most convoluted order zone placements in all of Vanguard. And he generates the token. So, of course, for those of you who, again, haven't been playing too much, basically Pete is then able to gauge things into that Ninja Scrolls, and then play it as a blitz order from there for the cost of a gauge later on. So you can, for example, put things in there, and then on his opponent's turn, trigger those effects traditionally. What you're looking to be triggering is one of the Buddy Fight orders, which will show up when it comes up, which effectively stops your opponent restanding. Or, alternatively, when your opponent hits a 15k shield, and if the attacking unit is your opponent's Vanguard, you also draw a card. Oh, that's good. First check, blue OT. So that's going to check. He's going to draw. He's going to get a crit. He's going to add the order back into hand. Yeah, and Logistan's going to take just double Philia into damage. Very, very rough. But interesting seeing Logistan on the Philia builds, because I know those have been waiting a little bit recently. So one of the things that Heartluru is capable of doing is it's able to run builds that primarily focus on Avarice Resta. And the purpose of those builds is in order to be able to less than win, more eliminate, or lose condition in the form of not seeing your fourth order. And Philly is just a slightly alternate build, which is more aggressively focused. So suddenly, if you're already leaning that way, getting two of them hitting damage instantly is very, very punishing and unfortunate for long stands kind of position in the game at the moment. There you go. It's going to be calling the bunny, and the bunny's going to be top 3. Put one anything into soul. So whereas your order has to be happy toys, this is just anything into soul. So especially in the late game, while your happy toys are gone, it's your most efficient way of thinning at that stage. 1, 2, 3, and that's going to be one thing into the soul. But doesn't sound like an easy decision here. And there we go. We all have choices to make, and Lostan just made his. Proceeds to call a second bunny. He's just some people just want it more. Oh, is that folklore? Very interesting. Very, very interesting, actually, because you don't get to see folklore very often. But again, for those of you who haven't been around for a while, folklore, of course, letting us energy charge one place from hand, and at the end of the battle, it boosted. If you energy blast 3 or more this turn, which of course Hardluru does in the main phase, you're then able to retire it to draw a card. So again, pretty interesting card that you don't get to see too often. But certainly one that I'm interested in seeing how it develops in Hardluru into the future. He says no god. That's going to be a dragon. Yeah. There you go. Pete Gage is the one to draw one. Again, being able to gauge like the weakest card in your hand in order to make that gap up is really, really powerful. And there you go. Pete pays a gauge to cycle 1. Oh, not cycle rather, but gauge 1 under his ninja scroll. His head is full. Such is your deck for any card. But choose under it, then basically when your opponent would play in main phase of that, after all the orders resolved, that he can then remove with the gauge and retire it if it's the same grade. So a little bit of predict, but of course it's Hardluru, so Pete's always going to be choosing a grade 2 here in order to start sabotaging things like Blavilos, the Restanding Bear, as well as the Shark that is presumably going to be coming out next turn. On top of that, you also have access to an order in Katana World, which I don't believe I think we might have seen go to drop, but not really resolve fully, which allows you to stop your opponent restanding. So again, this is one of those things that makes this a very, very difficult matchup for Hardluru, because you force them to commit a lot of resources and punish them for doing so, or kind of shut them down before they're really able to get going. So you kind of get to choke them out of the tempo that really makes that deck as scary as it is. Oh, and also, importantly, many of the grade 2 rear guards in Katana World also stop your opponent intercepting. So despite them swinging for, your 15s, your 18s, your 20s, spending them as far as 28s, your opponent just can't intercept. So no grade 2s, no dragons or horses, which means all that shield has to come from your hand, or you're just taking pokes for almost no reason effectively. So really, really difficult matchup, especially if you are the Hardluru player.
Du doch Güte fast. Ich brauche noch einen Drive Jackpot. Free of
And the interesting thing for Hardlure as well is turns sort of deceptively look similar until you kind of get going from there, and then you realize that actually against Katana World especially, you kind of have to keep trying to bait the pops. Because, for example, he makes Blade Loss here, right? He can counterblast one to draw, that's fine, but then he can just pop it, right? So you want to eventually make sure you have something after Pete is all well and done. So you go CB1, Pete goes, yeah, that's a cool story. Anyway, pops it. But importantly, Logizan does get a draw off of that. Like, there's one thing we don't do, and what we don't do is we don't negate. Yeah, that looks like a hot lure on the Rhaegar cycle. That's very unfortunate. Oh no, is that a hot lure? It's hard to know if that's a hot lure or a bear. Unfortunately, the glare is a little bit too difficult there to make it out through, at least for me. There you go. So, for example, yeah, there you go. So you're just going to be gauging and drawing. And guards it.
So I can attack with 21 to you, and I'm gonna reset at the same time. Attack.
There you go. Pete stopped the battle though there. Unfortunately, that's only going to be a triple drive. That's a red OT. That's really good. That's really good. That's a really good time for Pete to see that OT coming out. There you go. Pete dropping to his knees in prayer. Checks the second front. Hilda doesn't resolve. Pete goes, that's not an issue, man. Not a problem at all. Go right ahead. Straight to fall.
I'm happy I killed the lady. That would have been worse. I would trust the tool. It was really cool. Right line effect top 5 for Ninja and Ninja odds. I will OT's out as well, so I can play.
Yeah, and the fact that Pete can, like, guarantee that the OT is out now, it's actually really cool that he can now start playing going forward, like, for predictable numbers. So he can't be jump scared by a random overtrigger, so he can play a much more calculated resource game and a much more calculated grind game, which, surprisingly enough, Katana World is very capable of doing, very adept.
And then because I'm a buddy fighter, I use my buddy tool.
There you go, and Pete is going to ride his grade 3 and buddy call. When he buddy calls, he countercharges 1 and searches deck for any 2 ninjas.
That's a one thing.
Pete hitting us with the humana special technique that has brought him to 2-1 for generations. We'll see if it holds true today. There you go, starts moving bits around, and of course one of the pieces he's going to be searching out here is going to be, I'm gonna keep, thing is the issue is there's Byakuya and Tsukikage, and I keep getting them mixed up. I believe it's Kaguya at the moment that's on the board. Oh, Byakuya, sorry, my bad. And what our effect here is they have Shadow Dive, which is during the battle attack your opponent cannot intercept, like we said earlier. And when your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Zanya attacks, you can discard a card to stand this. And when it attacks a grade 3 or greater unit, and you have it in regard with Tsukikage or Gojimaru, and it's counting this against plus 5k. So that's how you're starting to make kind of like the 15 numbers to really start poking your opponent out, especially when they can't intercept.
On attack, it's 5, and the class, not one to touch. So this is going to be 10, and they all have Shadow Dive, which basically you can't intercept during that battle. It's 15 no intercept. Yeah, so when my back attack is discard 1.
There you go, just explaining Shadow Dive to his opponent just now. He goes, no god, goes to 3. 20 no intercepts, again. Asking for those 15k shields, but that would be overguarding. Yeah, I guess we discard 1, restand. 13, this one he can intercept, and again, try to bait the Logison to do it. Because if he shows him 2, that's going to be a 2 to pass. And, you know, sometimes that's enough. Taking on the 2 to pass. First check. Oi. Absolutely terrifying. That's the thing. We're just seeing the power of fronts today. It's interesting seeing how the game sort of adapted into more and more decks running fronts, just as like a means of beating over decks that have quote unquote higher deck quality. So the fact that he's able to kind of, well, amongst other things, guard like his life depends on it, because he doesn't draw quite as much as other decks. He gets to do a lot of thinning, so you want the cards that you drive check to really matter. So a lot of these fronts are actually really, really flexible. There you go, and he's going to be resolving a Soul Guard ability in front of his opponent. So for those of you unaware, what Soul Guard basically says when a card would leave the rearguard circle, you are able to blast one of its buddy soul, so the unit's under it. And if you did, the card doesn't leave, and you have to try and do it again. So for example, if a unit has 2 buddy soul, a prison player would have to try and remove it 3 times before it finally goes to prison, which actually makes this deck a surprisingly terrible matchup for prison, which is, like we said earlier, coming out next week. So watch this space if prison starts picking up too much steam in your local area. Yeah, Logison's going, nah, man, I'm gonna need that stuff in my life. Yeah, the super unfortunate thing as well there is that that hole's actually can't intercept from the back row, because that is a certified back right ability. Yeah, the block horse is a card that unfortunately isn't doing a staggering amount at this stage in the game, especially against Pete. Since Pete can't keep shutting it down, it just ends up being that too little too late sort of situation. Because of course, yeah, there's a lot of new archetypes came out since our last BCS season. So can get to experience a lot of these for if not the first time, then fairly early on in our familiarity with them. Because yeah, again, this is, I think today is by far the most represented deck. Like, I don't think it's even close. If I can tell from memory, I think today has, out of 160 people, north of 30 Heart Lurus. Yeah, I think today's is Vase Ruger and just Heart Luru on Heart Luru on Heart Luru. Sorry, 27 Heart Blues. My apologies. Yeah, but all the while, Pete is just not letting up. The trouble is this matchup specifically because Pete thins so much and the Hardlore player will be drive checking so much. There's actually a strong argument to be made that this ends up becoming a deckhand matchup fairly often. Which is actually really, really scary if you think about it. Because naturally, Pete is just going to be using up more of his opponent's hand than Logistan is.
So I cannot stand it again. No effects on
Crit front. That's a PG. Pass turn on 4 damage. 2 cards in. Oh, what looks like what? 6 cards in hand? Yep, he's just gonna get to go on the offensive and just pray that what he has is enough. Actually, for those of you that can't quite make it out, one of the most interesting cards in this matchup actually is actually from a really surprising sort of fella in Pete's deck. It's genuinely, it's going to be RSD here because one of the things he facilitates in this deck is when it's placed on Ray Guard, you can pay a gauge. You choose up to 1 nanomachine Byakuya SD from your drop and call it to a Ray Guard circle. And then you can choose one of your Ninja Ray Guards. If that unit's Body Soul doesn't have a card with this name, you put it into the Body Soul. And then if your opponent's Vanguard is Grade 3 or greater, the unit with this card and its Body Soul gains 5k power, 5k shield. So he basically has the ability of turning your whole deck into 10k intercepts and into, well, plus 5k, so your boosters become 13, your attackers become 15. So you're looking at 28/38 for every swing. And with your things like your Byakuya restanding, again, with no intercepts, your opponent's very quickly going to run out of hand, And it's just these little interactions that really edge these kinds of decks out. And on top of that, we've also got cards like the... sorry. The Tsukikage ends up calling out a Byakuya, which we've got those too. Because continuously, when it's attacked, your opponent can't intercept. It's on a grade 1. And when this unit attacks all boosts, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, and you have a Ray Guard with Tsukikage or Gonjimaru name, this gains plus 5k. So this becomes an 18k booster, which is really, really important. So again, the number now becomes 33. So these things are really, really challenging to contend with when you're all guarding from hand, because 33 is a magic number. That's a trigger and a 10k. But again, 10ks just aren't that common, which means oftentimes it's 3 cards or 2 triggers from hand for what is otherwise just a 20k guard, which is how your opponent ends up in really awkward positions where they can't really capitalize on their advantage, but they also can't really punish you that aggressively, which means you have these games where you just slowly fall behind until the Katana World player is able to cut you down. But that's the thing, right? Because I think one of the most interesting parts in recent Vanguard is the way that a lot of these stride X's have been manufactured. But yeah, again, and like that, the game ends. And I'd like to congratulate you. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a tiny little break here. We're going to try and figure the transitions out. Sorry, we have to really whisper into this during the rounds because We can't spin it around for you, but there is literally a fabric cloth and then the featured match table. So obviously now the game's over, we can speak up at full volume. In fact, I'll do you one where I can stop ASMRing this for you, and we can just hold it normally. And so, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be back very, very soon with round 4. Let's try and get somebody picked out for you who might find interesting. I've seen a couple in the crowd who I would love to show to you. So, guys, don't go anywhere. Stay safe, take care, and I'll see you in just a few minutes for round 4. Don't go anywhere, guys. Be right back. Welcome back, everybody. This is round 4 of BCS Italy coming right up. I've got a really interesting matchup for you. I've got Nuno, the former world champion, on Weisruger, facing up against Tom on Youthbug, actually. So we're going to be transitioning. The players are just going to be deciding who's going to be going first, who's going to be going second, and who's going to be continuing their win streak. I believe these players are either XO or X1, so actually doing very, very well for themselves. Again, Nuno, call it a master of his craft. Been at this for quite a while, as opposed to Tom, who's sitting in front of us with a very seldom seen deck in Youthbug Rebuild. So again, the most recent Youthbug variant that came out in set 8, and been starting to take names in Japan, but we haven't quite gotten that far yet in the English format. Really, really interested to see how this pans out, as two of my favorite current standard decks going to face off against each other. We'll see what lies ahead. Because the interesting thing for us is, for example, in things like Vienna, the tournament was what felt like a lot more diverse, actually. So a lot of Vienna had a lot of Heartloos, a lot of Minervas. Actually, not very few Minervas today here at all, which is actually very strange to see. This tournament is certainly dominated by Weisruger and Heartloo. But I think that's kind of what you'd expect at this stage, especially with set 12 or set 11 coming up next week. Of course, stay tuned for Spain in 3 weeks. That is going to be the first event where that set is legal, at least for Europe. There you go, and that's going to be a Youthbug player going first, hitting the grade 1. And next time he rides up, he's going to be able to Energy Blast 3 and top 5 and add 1 to his hand. So the thing as well is when... There you go, and he's going to be showing his opponent the Weisruger, proceeding to search the deck for the moon. And unfortunately, that moon did not come from hand. There's not going to be a draw here, but he is going to draw for going second. There you go, and he's going to show me the I believe it's half grid, which is going to go top 5 for either a Lunarite order or a Weisruger himself. There you go, Nuno getting his James Bond moment. And yeah, the thing is, this is just able to aggro so hard. There you go, just able to do that again. Finds the Weisruger this time. Ooh, that's going to be the first Minerva order. 8k Van, that's going to be a draw trigger. Is there a defensive? There is no defensive. That's a Personalite cycle. That's a 15k shield out of hand. And Youthbug's going to have to take it. Yep, unfortunate defensive there. But going to 3 this early might spell the end, especially when a deck like Weisruger is really able to pile on that pressure early, compared to then not let up. Your opponent being on 3 this early is a little scary for the Youthbug player. You know, Tom here is might just be a little bit on the back foot, but we'll see if he's able to draw that back. If our new Solitary Knight can get on top. So yeah, when he rides a grade 2, he's going to be able to, I think it's Energy Blast, Soul Blast 1 for top 5, and either call a grade 2 list to hand or add a Revel Form to his hand. One, two, three, 4, and 5. He's going to call Selgion here. Yeah, of course, as we saw the Wisdom earlier, we know this man is on the Catapile, so it'd be very unusual to not see Selgion after seeing everything else that's going to come with it. There you go, that's the order coming out. Cannabis 1. Oh, thinking on Cannabis 1. There we go, Cannabis 1. Draw 2, call 2. Wonder how many T-faults he's able to see here. Crit and Saigon, that is an unfortunate turn of events. That's going to be 23. That's a crit. PG and a heal. Heal does not go off, but maybe, just maybe, it's enough. 28. So I'm going to go top 2, add 1 to hand, 1 to the bottom of the deck. That was a pretty quick decision. There you go. So Nuno is now riding the Grade 2 for Vaser, which is top 7. So normally you will be able to Soul Blast 2 or Energy Blast 3 and rest the Moongate to go top 7, call up to 1 and put up to 2 Mythish, or choose up to 3 Mythish, call up to 1 of them to hand, and the rest go to the Order Zone, go to the Moon Base. But your Grade 2 Rhineline is fine, top 7 for 2, 1 to Moon, 1 to hand, which is often actually not where you get to send them. So such something to remember if you're going to be trying to pick up Vaser after seeing this. Because in my opinion, it's one of my favorite aesthetics in Ranked at the moment. I really like the way those units look.
Later, when I try to go back after 2, I don't do you know that? Yeah. Oh, then sorry. It will be 1, 2, 3 to your
There you go. Yeah, things with both of them being on kind of hovering the 3 damage range, it's like a pretty good place to be in, especially if you're Vaisruga, because as you start thinning more, you're going to be attacking kind of 5 attacks a turn, which is nothing to scoff at, especially for a deck like Youthbag that has a bit of a hard time building up its hand. So getting multiple attacks that are just beyond the 1 card to guard might just prove a little bit too much, but Youthbag also has really explosive turns. It can really generate big numbers out of nowhere. It can be really, really scary to contend with. There we go. And like, for example, now we're getting to see a bit of the Dekakun coming out. Which, again, is one of the, call it slightly funny attacks that we've seen in recent months. Because the thing with the Dekakun is from the Koro Koro collab set. It's basically, it's a Teethfault reprint. It's just Teethfault. Which is, I just think it's a funny looking design, a funny little guy, a funny fella. You know, maybe a little too late, but nonetheless, card you're always happy to see at this stage. Oh my god, another one. Oh my goodness, that's another one. Yeah, just for me to know that despite the fact you can call it because it's called by card's ability, by unit's ability, this T-Fault isn't proccing, but, you know, a man can dream. That's a 2 to pass. That's first check, nothing. Second check, that's a front. Ooh. Of course, getting to Counterblast 1 and Revel Dress. Breaking the rock into Youthbug. Revel Form exist on attack, on a place, rather. Energy Blast 3, standard front row with 10k to front row. He wish that is filled. So currently that's looking to be a what 15, 25, 38 column in the Vanguard. It's going to be discard 1 for a drive. So 30-1 drive, and that's going to be, that's just the Corian, unfortunately. That's an OT coming out. Yeah, it's going to be T-Fault swinging into the Ray Gods. Then he passed on. That's so unfortunate. like even beyond the extent to which, you know, it turns off your OT turns it off. It just turns off all your offense and all your pressure. So despite the fact he checked fronts and he got 2 T faults, which again hit not in significant numbers, the onus kind of becomes on Tom now to find a persona right for next turn. Because I feel like if he doesn't, he's really, really struggling, right? But if he is, he can like maybe just about crawl this back. But it feels like a really bad position to be in right now.
So this would be 33. Your take for when you forget. 33.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, unfortunately, looking like a 2 to pass. Yeah, just swinging to the ray guards, just having to take it. Such a difficult place to be in. They go showing us the percent shield as well. Yeah, the thing with Face Ruga is like it's just able to manifest so much compression because of the moon gates. And just the fact that it can have a resist on the board on top of like, getting 5 attacks and a lot of thinning. It's just so strong because your orders just make your numbers borderline unguardable. Yeah, Texas goes straight to 5, but you know, you think he lets up, but if Nuno shows the persona right next turn, he's in a tough position. Because the thing is, when that snake comes from the back row and it has resist, it means what often happens is you will intercept with the unit in front of it and just move it up next turn, right? Meanwhile, you know, even if by some reason, like Tom decides to completely damage an Nuno here, the thing with Vase Ruga is, so say he swings front rows, right? He just calls anything with the Halbrand, he uses counter charges 1, and the Vanguard attacks 3 times. Oh, it attacks 4 times anyway. So it's like, it's really difficult to deny this deck in a meaningful way. Prison sometimes can because your soul can run a little thin, but it's increasingly difficult to play in the new format. I think you just kind of have to pray for a miracle run and just dodge every prison player and just hope it's enough.
Sorry, 15 minutes.
There you go, that sounds better. There you go, Nuno is trying to continuously thin with his Moongate, seeing just how far he can take it before he has to resume the battle phase. Yeah, there was 50 over the 2 crits. Nuno's looking at it. He goes, I don't know about this one, Chief. And it might just be crit for game. What if I said you had one shot, one opportunity? Would you take it? Man, just about trying to. Make sure the persona that's 30k. Yeah, it's like all this for a 5k pass is one pass. Does he do it? That's a front trigger. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Oh, never mind. It wasn't one pass. My bad. My bad. My bad. Me when I lie. Yeah, but apologies again. I know the Wi-Fi has been a bit trippy, so a lot of the footage can be a bit staticky, but thankfully we're not experiencing that locally, so we'll be able to upload the high-definition clips throughout the week. So if you're having a bit of trouble seeing this, do stay tuned. We're going to have the full VODs up, again, as I said, throughout the week in glorious high definition. Let's see, one of the things Youthbug struggles with that I'm surprised he's... Actually, I suppose impressed, more than all the correct time, that he survived this long is because Youthbug can have a really hard time generating hand, you can find that decks like Vaser would just out-pressure it over time. And while you can clearly see Youthbug is struggling, you can also see Nuno kind of fighting for his life here. Like, last turn was a close call. You're already swinging 48, and unfortunately Youthbug is on 5. This is, he can't really afford to toy around here too much. That's a 33. Needs another front. Crit and intercept. Yep, that'll do it. That would do it. Swing on the Vanguard. Call Fox plus. That's going to be a 43. Into that, it's 35k shield for a 1 pass, 45k shield for a 2 pass, and 55 for not at all. That's 2 pass. Yeah, he's thinking about the extra 5. He needs the 5 more. Without another 5, this is just a normal 2 to pass. But it would appear that Tom's hand is running a little bit thin. He has to overguard that a little bit. Elementaria, ditch front. And then a PG 1-card hand. Yeah. And with both players on 5, your turn really does depend on the quality of your hand here. Because the trouble is, a lot of people have been running the restand heals, but those only work against the thing that Youthbug restands. Because he himself rides into a new grade 3, so he's not actually restanding. So those heals are actually less efficient into Youthbug than they are into most other decks. But I don't know if that matters when you're able to manifest like 30k front rows. Or plus 30k front rows. It almost just proved to be a little bit too overwhelming, even at plus 20. So I think this is only going to be the determining time for the game. Either Tom wins here and now, or Nuno's able to try and take it till next turn and seal it that way. Yeah, so he's going for the 18 there. Yeah, 13 even. You're swinging.
Please, no, don't do that. Please. No, no, that's really bad. You cannot do that.
There you go. The players are just thinking. I think Nero said thinking, and Zemo thought he said take it. So yeah, he said PG. That's going to be heal. That's so big. That's actually massive for Tom. Just the ability to be able to just take 1 damage somewhere in that. I don't think it matters on a 3-card hand, but it does alleviate a lot of pressure mentally, I think. There you go, yeah, it's going to be a Kirby standing plus 20k front row. There you go, yeah, show us another PG. First check. Yeah. Oh, double heal there is rough. Yeah, so the interesting is because we seem to be able to see 2 heals in his hand. I think there's almost nothing that could stop Tom there from living that turn. Or from killing that turn. Because, yeah, for that you would need that swing to be, what, 63 and above? Which I just don't think Tom's deck is manifesting on a crit on Rayguard. Maybe next turn, though. If he survives, but I suspect that without that heal, he definitely died. With that heal, maybe with a lucky heal, we might be able to live through this. There you go, finding 3 more pieces, going Soul Blast 2. I'm going to be going top 7. 4. Is it going to be enough? Just a snake, nothing else. Yeah, that's one of the issues Vaestro can often have, is later on in the game it's increasingly difficult to actually find your pieces because, well, you've seen them already, right? Yep, 43 and counter charge 1. Swing Vanguard. There you go, Snake plus Crow. No guard. Crit. There we go. And that's going to be game. 2 pieces going to damage, and that's just going to be it for Nuno. Again, fantastic performance, insane card. Again, this is what we call the World Champ diff. Again, for those who don't know, Nuno was our last the World Champion on Luke back in 2019, and he's been showing a lot of dominance in Standard as well. Hasn't won a BCS in quite a while, but consistently topping, consistently doing well on, like, well, in this case, a pretty meta deck. He's on Dayusha in last year's set 4 meta, and a lot of like off-center little cool lists. Big fan of Narukami, a great player. So guys, don't go anywhere, stay safe. It'll be just a few minutes as we prepare round 5 for you. Spoiler alert, there's going to be a pretty cool buff saga around. So don't go anywhere, stay tuned. We'll be right back. Take care, guys.